Welcome to the Houston Hustle, the podcast that spotlights the movers, the makers, and the doers shaping the city we love. Each week, we sit down with Houston's top entrepreneurs to talk who they are, how they built it, the principles that drive them, and what success means beyond the highlight reel. This is Real Hustle, real stories, real Houston. Welcome to Houston Hustle. I'm Dr. Paige Ward.
I'm Dr. Charlie Ward.
And today we have our guest, John Despo with Guardian Roofing Texas. So welcome to the show.
Thank you guys for having me.
Of course. So for those who don't know, tell us about who you are and what you do.
Like I said, my name is John Despo. I am the president of Guardian Roofing Texas. We're a residential and commercial roofing company based out of the Houston area, but we go everywhere.
Okay, awesome. So how long have you been in business?
This will be our 12th year.
12th year.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And was this always the plan for you?
You know, when I got out of the military, I was kind of looking for something to like keep going and keep like being able to serve the community, I guess, without having to move around a bunch. Mm-hmm. So I just kind of like found my niche in construction, and it allowed me to keep interacting with the public and that sort of thing, which was kind of nice.
Okay. Mm-hmm. From day one, how would you say that your business has changed?
Fundamentally, I had to learn a lot of lessons.
Okay.
Going from predominantly military lifestyle to a civilian lifestyle, and also the people that you're dealing with go from predominantly military personnel to civilian personnel. That was a bit of a culture shock for me. So I had to make an adjustment within myself from the way that, you know, talk to people and your demeanor and that sort of thing. 'Cause you're used to doing it such one way for so long and so many years, and then all of a sudden it's okay, you have to do it a completely different way now, or you know, people are going to think you're a weirdo. So yeah, I had to make those adjustments, and we did. So it helped out with the business.
Do you feel like some of the values, though, or habits that you learned in the military helped you in your business?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, the biggest thing is just like being 100% brutal honesty with people.
Yeah.
Especially in construction, I think that there's so much distrust between homeowners and contractors that, like, we don't need to make it any worse, right?
Yeah.
So, and it's kind of the same thing on the other side of the ball. Like, you know, you have to be 100% upfront with somebody, even if it's bad news.
Yeah.
And I found that homeowners appreciate that a whole lot more, you know, than us saying, oh, well, we're going to do this, and then we end up not doing it.
Yeah.
You know?
I think in the consumer market, I've seen, and you can even see it in reports, a big shift where people just really want authenticity right now and you to be straightforward and honest with them. Yeah. And obviously, as you know, construction, there is a lot of, I don't feel like I noticed as much when I lived in South Dakota, but here in Texas, you do hear the stories of people getting scammed on things, right? Or all sorts of things where they'll pay people all the way up front and then they disappear and they never show up again. Yeah. What would be your tips to people who are looking to hire a construction person?
I encourage everybody to do their homework. Mm-hmm. One, because you'll learn about the process, and I never want a homeowner to feel like they're in the dark. But never pay somebody up front. Mm-hmm. I have a written policy against taking money up front. In fact, we won't take any money, period, until the job is 100% complete. That was one of the very first things that I wrote down in our policy book, that we weren't going to, you know, take a percentage, because there are companies out there that do that. And I'm sure they have their reasons for doing it, but I just think that it sows distrust, and I'm not interested in doing that.
Absolutely. Do you feel like, and I guess this is just kind of a side note with this, but do you feel like COVID affected the construction business at all?
Yeah, it made it a lot more interpersonal. Mm-hmm. So us going to somebody's house, that stopped for a while. Mm-hmm. And so we would have to visit with them either like over a video call. And a lot of people weren't comfortable, like, because people were scared and they were nervous. But, you know, I met with my vice president and our project managers, and I just told them, I said, look, you're going to have to handle people with kid gloves while this is going on, because nobody knows what's happening and everybody is scared. So just be patient. And we would ask customers to be patient with us as well, because everybody, like business owners, we were navigating through this fog of uncertainty, because we don't know what's going on, and we don't know the rules, and we don't know how people are going to react to it. And so, you know, it was a learning curve for sure, but a good one, because it drove a lot of business, especially in the residential market, because people were at home all the time. My wife included. You know, they're at home a lot and they start looking around going, what can I do here? They just start noticing things that they generally wouldn't notice if they're at the office 5 days a week. So it did help, and it also helped us interpersonally wise with our customers.
Yeah, no, we talked to an air conditioning HVAC guy, and he was saying the same thing that during COVID, people were home all the time and they realized like how their AC units ran during the day, which they never noticed before.
Yeah.
And so it did change the game a little bit in what people wanted and the demand.
Yeah, it was difficult in the very beginning because, like I said, everybody was kind of afraid of what was going on, and we had people call us to their house, and as soon as we got there and knocked on their door, they were like, "We're not interested," and because they didn't know what was happening, so we were kind of like, "Okay, sorry, if you need us, call us." But from there, it evolved into people becoming more comfortable. As more information got out, we were able to kind of resume normal operations.
How many employees or how has your company grown over the 12 years you've been in business?
One of my big things was, especially from the very beginning, is you have to be very, very careful about who you hire, especially in the contracting industry, because when you're not there, they are the face of your business, like it or not. So if you willy-nilly hire 10, 15 people and just put them out in the world, that could wreck you if you're a small business just starting out, because people talk. Google is powerful, Facebook is powerful. The Woodlands moms groups, they run the world. If you make them happy, great. If you make them mad, they will put you out of business. But as far as the hiring process, I'm pretty stringent about who we put out there, just for that reason.
What does your hiring process look like?
Depending on what the position is. So like if we're hiring a project manager for certain, we'll talk to them and we'll interview them probably 2 or 3 times before we even think about onboarding them. And then we have a 90-day period where they roll around with either the vice president or another project manager, but everybody rides with me for a week.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Everybody. And so you ride around in a truck all day with somebody for 7 days.
You're going to get to know them.
You will figure out who they are. And they'll figure out who you are. And that's just as important.
No, for sure.
Because I don't want to work with somebody that, I'm not aligned with, that sort of thing. But
is that something you kind of talked to about them about, is like what your core values during that time and like what the culture of your company is?
Yes, in a roundabout way. I don't want to like stick my foot off into somebody's business like really badly if I don't need to. But 7 days in a truck with somebody, going to lunch with them, that sort of thing, you can get a pretty good gist of who they are, because nobody's going to fake it for that long.
Yeah, absolutely not. They're going to have their moments for sure.
They're going to have their moments, So, but yeah, once that onboarding process is done, and then we put them out in the field and they ride with a project manager until the new hire tells us that they're comfortable. So we will not like cut them off and put them out in the world until they say they're cool.
No, that's awesome. Go ahead.
What are some difficulties that you've faced as you've grown and developed your business?
The mistrust thing is huge. Because like the contracting, and especially in the roofing industry, because there's been so many bad things happen to people, there's almost like a predisposition to not trust you. And so if you knock on somebody's door, whether it's a referral or not, or somebody that just called or off the website, you can just expect that they are leery of you as soon as you show up. And so, and this is part of this when we train people that I talk to them about and say, look, man, you have to understand that people are going to be leery of you just because of the aura that is around the construction industry. And so when we have a new customer, we have to break that and reestablish like a real trust with them, to where, because construction jobs are expensive, they're spending a lot of money,
Absolutely.
We always try to like tell people to go do their homework up front and say, look, here's a copy of our commercial insurance policy. Here's our website. This is my personal cell phone number. If you need me, call me. Like that sort of thing is super, super important with people, especially that have been maybe burned in the past by someone. So we just try to make and establish that connection right up front before we even start talking about money or jobs or any of that kind of stuff. Trust first.
How do you feel like you navigate? Because I feel like the roofing and really any contracting jobs industry is very competitive, especially here in Texas. How do you navigate your marketing and all of that?
You have to that's kind of like a two-sided question. The thing with Houston is that there's so many roofing companies here because you don't need a license,
Okay.
which is crazy to me.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that is wild.
You can just like stick a ladder in your truck and be like,
I'm a roofer.
I'm a roofer and I'm gonna go around and knock on people's doors and that sort of thing. Which we have a policy against knocking doors. I don't let people do it. I don't let our guys sell that way. I think it's super annoying. I think it trashes up the neighborhood. I don't want somebody knocking on my door, Sunday at 2 o'clock.
Right.
I'm not gonna do that to somebody else, But yeah, there's so many just, 1 and 2 man companies out there that you have to you have to make yourself like seen. You have to like brand it. And it can be very expensive, but it in the end is worth it because people will see your logo and they'll say, "Oh, like I know you guys. I've seen y'all's trucks rolling around," and that's a huge thing, especially like in the social media marketplace. If you don't have a logo and somebody can't go and look up Google reviews, or you have like 10 Google reviews, they're gonna be like, "No thanks,"
Right. Absolutely.
you know.
Because anybody can have somebody like help them with 10, right?
Yeah.
Like
Yep.
ask all your friends to leave a review. And
No, that's exactly right. And then you have to be registered with the BBB and, all that sort of thing. But branding is the most important thing, and it takes about 2 years for it to set itself right. As far as like search engine optimization and having your website out there and making little commercials and doing YouTube shorts and all that stuff. We hired a girl named Ashley Ramirez about 6 months or so ago. She has a company called Shine Online, and she like took our advertising and our Facebook like to another level. She's
awesome.
amazing. And she calls me probably 2 or 3 times a week. It's like, "Hey, can I get a video?" or "Hey, can I get pictures?" And she takes that and like puts it out into the world and like makes us legit, which is kind of cool. Legitimacy is a huge thing.
well, you can't underestimate the value of social media anymore. Like you basically have to be on social media
Yes.
in this generation and age because so many people are going to look for that and they tag how many people on it, right? So super, super important. But I know not everyone's like a specialist in social media. So being able to delegate that out is smart.
Yeah, no, it is 100% worth it to have somebody that knows what they're doing.
Yeah, 100%.
How'd you come up with the name and brand then of Guardian?
Funny story. When I was transitioning to the civilian side, I was starting to date my now current wife, Katie, and she was helping me a lot with like a lot of things. And it's like one day I was in there and I was like, man, she's kind of like my guardian angel.
Oh,
This is
So I'm gonna call it Guardian, and it just kind of stuck. And she ended up designing our original logo, which we still use,
that's
and that sort of thing. Like she was like a big, like super big help in the very beginning of us getting off the ground and not falling flat on our face.
That is so awesome. I think that's so cute. It's so romantic.
All right, all right.
Okay, so speaking of being in business and busy as you are, how do you navigate like your work-life balance?
That is important because I think that if you get too involved in your own business, I'm not saying like too involved in your own business, but if you do that just constantly all the time, you can be detrimental to yourself. And I learned that in like the second or third year when I was just all day every day and it was, day and night. And if you're like pouring everything into like getting your business started, getting it off the ground, other things are going to suffer. Also, if you are have your hands in it too much, you will mess something up.
Yeah.
And I did that too. And so finally, when I hired Troy Hampy, our vice president, and kind of like let him have some stuff, I got a different perspective on some things. Troy's a smart guy. And when he was off doing his thing, he did it differently from me. Not necessarily a wrong way, just a different way.
It's
And
good to have that different perspective.
yeah, that's okay. And I learned that lesson too. It's okay to let other people have ideas in your company.
Yes, that is so awesome. So I feel like in any business, you're going to have people say no. And like you were saying, there's a lot of mistrust and stuff in this just general area of business. But how do you, since you're hiring people on, you're training them, how do you teach them about like the headspace? Because I feel like the energy you put out there is important too, but also, people can get discouraged from no's. So how do you go about that?
Yeah, that's part of what I brief them on is like every customer that calls you, you might land 60% of them, and 60% is good,
Yeah.
And when you're very first starting out and you don't have your pipeline open yet, and you don't have an established client base, you're gonna fail more than you win. And I tell them that, and I make sure that they know up front. I was like, the first 2 or 3 months of this, you're not gonna like it because I didn't like it.
Yeah.
And so like I watched it happen, but usually around the like 60-day mark or so, once they've gotten their feet under them and they can put their foot on the gas, that's generally when I see them start to really like succeed.
That's awesome. I love that. Did you have a question? Okay. Where do you see your business going in the future?
The commercial side of our business is a completely different animal from the
Yeah.
residential
I
side
believe
of
it.
our business. We've done VA hospitals and Air Force bases and churches, kind of stuff.
That's very cool.
It's cool, and it was fortunate for us to be able to get into that because it's hard to get into those contracts. I would like to hire some more people for that side of it. I just don't want them to have to be gone constantly.
Yeah.
I don't want to drag somebody away from their house or their family because our travel crews are gone for a month or a month and a half at a time. And sometimes they come home on the weekends and sometimes they don't. It's their choice. But I don't want to have to like tell somebody, hey, you have to be gone for X amount of time. I'm a family-based dude, and so like I don't
Absolutely.
want to have to do that to somebody. But as far as the commercial side, I mean, it kind of does its own thing. Once you get in with the bigger construction firms and they know who you are and they know that they can trust you and they know that you're not going to miss trade deadlines and you're going to have the job done when you say, that's big for them. And so like you'll develop your reputation with those guys and they say, all right, well, we've done 3 jobs at this company and they're not a pain and they don't cause us problems. Call them up and hire them. They don't even care about your bid process as long as they can trust you. They don't care.
No, for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, I know y'all did our previous house roof, our first house that we had in here. And my neighbor at the time, he had a different crew come and they were a little bit cheaper, but that there's always somebody to do it cheaper because he's always finding those. And I was like, absolutely not. You guys did such good quality. And that's what sold me was just like the quality of the process, the people, every aspect and touch point of it was so good.
Yeah.
And I think that will stand for itself over time.
Well, thank you. And we do tell customers that sometimes because they'll be like, well, you're X amount more expensive than, whatever company. And sometimes we're cheaper. We're not.
You don't want to be, it's not a race to the bottom either, right?
It's not. But I know customers are concerned with dollar amounts.
Yeah.
And I understand because I'm a homeowner too.
Exactly.
But at the same time, we can't cut corners.
Right. You want the quality.
Yeah, I would rather another company do the job than us do a bad job.
Yeah.
That's just the way I think about that.
No, that's awesome. Okay, so I have a fun question for you. I always like to ask this of people. What is the weirdest thing you've come across in your business?
Man, let's see. PG wise?
It doesn't matter. It can be any of it.
No, I'm not.
You're like, some of it I'm not even touching.
Yeah, I've had some weird stuff happen because you're in the general public's houses, so
Yes.
you don't know what you're going to walk into. Probably about 3 months ago, I went to a customer's house who had called me, and she was an older lady. And when I got there, she had a glass door that would be a screen door, but it was glass, and her front door was standing open.
Okay.
And so I went to go knock on it, but as soon as I went to go knock on it, I could see her. She was laying across a mattress that was in her living room floor. And I won't say her name, but I was like, ma'am, are you okay? And I'm knocking on the door. She's like, yeah, come on in, John. I said, okay. I was like, I don't know if I want to, but anyway, I went in there and I said, hey, are you okay? And she goes, yeah, I sprayed some nose spray in my ear and it threw my equilibrium off. And I've been laying here ever since. And I was like, do you want me to call you an ambulance or something? I didn't know what to do, And she was like, no, this happens all the time.
What?
I was like, okay, so do you want me to look at your roof? She goes, yeah, I'll just be in here and just let me know when you're done. I was like, okay, ma'am. And I just went and looked at her roof and left her laying across this mattress in her living room because she hosed herself in the ear with nose spray.
I have a lot of
I don't
questions with
recommend
that.
that.
A lot of
Questions.
questions.
Why would we do that? And also, this must be regular enough if we have a mattress in our living room.
Yeah, yeah, it was a strange thing. I had a lady come out and ask for a discount one time because she was Miss Sam Houston State. Came out in a crown with a scepter and a sack.
No, no. You're like, girl, you're not actually royalty.
She was like, "Hang on, I'll be right back." And she came out with this stuff on, and I'm like, "Oh man, I should wear like a body camera. This is so weird." So she was like, "Can I have a discount?" I was like, I'll talk to him, but I'm leaving immediately because you are weirding me out."
That's wild.
Yeah.
That is one thing that I am grateful I don't have to do is to go into other people's homes.
Kate says the same thing. She goes, "I don't know how you do that because you see some like weird decorations and
Oh yeah, I'm
that kind
sure.
of stuff." I've been in like fully chrome houses.
Chrome?
Yeah, like
Very
mirrored, like
futuristic.
all that. I had a customer one time that had like these 9 foot wooden cats on either side of her fireplace.
What?
Yeah, she was like, "Don't go near my cats, John." I said, "Don't worry, ma'am. I'm gonna be over here by the door."
Oh my gosh, that
Yeah.
is so awesome.
Strange stuff, but I mean, most of the customers are like super nice people.
Yeah.
You know, they're just trying to get help. You know.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely.
You run across some weirdos though, but that's okay.
Makes life interesting, spicy.
Yeah, that's for sure.
Okay, so if our listeners want to get a hold of you, how do they get in touch with you?
My phone number is, if you call that, you can speak directly to me.
Awesome.
That's one thing that I was kind of put my foot down about. Our admins wanted to get a company line, and we have a company line, but I would rather if somebody wants to talk to me directly that they're able to call me.
Very cool.
Yeah, and look, there's another side of that coin. My phone
Is it always going off?
yeah, and you know they'll call you at 1 o'clock in the morning. They don't care, but you know if it's an emergency, I want to hear from them.
Yeah.
You know, and so I always try to like make myself as accessible as I can.
Yeah. Absolutely.
You just can't drive yourself nuts.
That's true. We gotta have some boundaries, right?
That's it.
Well, thank you so much for being on our show today.
Yeah, you guys are awesome. Thank
Thanks,
you for
John.
letting us do this. Thank y'all so much.
Okay. And we'll see you guys next time. You've been listening to Houston Hustle, celebrating the entrepreneurs who are shaping our city. If you enjoyed this episode, subscribe, leave a review, and share it with someone building their own dream. Until next time, keep building, keep learning, and keep hustling.